clicked it, so it should be on. Uh,
We live.
Are we?
I got a little notification that said that this meeting's being live streamed or something like that.
Perfect. All right, now we just run the little sound check. Sound check. Am I echoing or anything?
2, 1, 2. I said, right, freestyle and shit.
Yeah, we started with it. Just start flowing.
Right now, put on a beat.
So am I echoing or anything?
Not that I can hear. Sound good.
Okay. Let me just pop it up on the. Oh shit! I gotta turn that off.
Get that mute.
Okay, cool. All right. So, listo. Let's get into it.
Let's do it, bro.
All right. So, thank you everybody for tuning in to Voces y Visiones. We have another amazing surprise episode today. So, for those who don't know, Voces y Visiones is a platform where we use art as the catalyst. Our main goal is to use art as the catalyst to dive into stories, journeys, and issues regarding people and places in our community. So, on that note, I want to introduce a very special guest today who's right along those lines. I mean, we're going to cover everything from art, life, and everything in between. So my guest today is Eddie Salinas. Eddie Salinas with ZombieKing. Eddie Salinas was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, raised in the west side of Robstown. He started playing guitar at the age of 8 years old, but didn't develop a true passion for it until his early teens. His music influences such as Jimi Hendrix, they include influences such as Jimi Hendrix and Black Sabbath, and inspired an interest of music outside of just hobby. It eventually became a lifestyle. He graduated from Robstown High in 2007 and took a break from college, a liberal arts major, after a family tragedy where a close relative committed suicide. Lost and within the throes of tragedy and in the streets, he dropped out of college to pursue a career in music and signed a record deal at 28 years old. After 5 years of effort with his band ZombieKing. ZombieKing's debut EP, First Effort on Pavement Records, was released and met with the pandemic of 2020. He is currently working through the struggles that have plagued the music industry post-pandemic, and while reinventing the band, ZK is now on the verge of a rollout after a 2-year hiatus. So yeah, 2-year hiatus, Tom. It's been a while. So yeah, real quick, thank you for joining us. I'm excited for this conversation, to say the least. Do you want to add anything about what you're up to, how you're doing right now, and let's get into it. I guess we could start also from there. We can go into like how you and I got to this conversation, how we met, and how we ended up at this point.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on, bro. It's been a long time coming. We've been planning this for a while, man. But you hit me up like what, probably about 6 months ago or so, maybe even before that. And you hit me with the opportunity, and I was like, bro, I would love to go on, but I want to hit it when I have some shit to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I'm in a place right now where I have plenty to talk about. Just in a decent place mentally, physically, spiritually, all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Creatively, more so than ever. And yeah, man. So just wanted to say that. Thanks for having me on. Shouts out to everybody who's watching. And yeah.
It was a while ago. I remember that too. And I was like, hey, because I thought of y'all, I mean, instantly when I first started coming up with this thing, like, you know what, I want to start interviewing people like instead of like, you know, the usual format is where we invite professionals from different fields, mental health and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I want to start inviting people that I know that I'm interested in what they're doing. So then I hit you up, and that's what you said. You were like, yeah, we have this thing, you know, and you had been laying low off social media and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
But this goes back now, it goes back even further to how we got to this point, to like going back to when we just met. So I think it was I believe I was doing the art blitz, right? I think I was doing
Yep.
the event or something, and I'm not sure who reached out to who or whatever
You
about.
might have put like a post out, kind of scouting for local talent, local artists that would want to, I guess, be part of it. And I think I hit you up, bro. And we might have been like in a group chat or something. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I remember hitting you up and being like, "Hey, what headline?" And I'm sure at the time, not knowing like too much from us, you're probably like, "What is a bold ass statement?" But like at the time, it's like, I've been doing the band thing for a while, so I know all the bands in the local area and shit, and I know who's been like, putting in work, who we've been fucking hitting the circuit with and shit. And I was like, well, fuck, we had already at that time we'd already done probably like 1 or 2 headlining shows in Corpus. So I was like, well, fuck, if we go headline Corpus all level, we can do Robstown, right? So I was like, I knew like if we had that much part in it, that we were gonna just go hard as fuck. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go just as hard as you. You
And,
know what I mean? Just to match
and I
that
remember
energy.
you were right though. I remember thinking like, well, he just went straight for like, oh, we'll headline. Like he didn't, it wasn't even like, and at first, oh, one second, my camera just cut out. But yeah, so at first I was a little bit thrown off. Hold on. Hold on, let me double check that this is on right. It just froze up. Technical difficulty.
That's showbiz, bro.
I know.
That's showbiz.
I accidentally pulled my cord from my camera out.
Mm.
All right,
Yeah,
let me.
I'm just the state of Texas, the great state of Texas. But I guess while you're figuring that out, yeah. So I think it was a post, bro. You might have posted something, and we got into a group chat with a couple other local artists, I believe, and I was like, "Hey, full headline, dude," and that came from a place of confidence. You know what I'm saying? It came from a place of confidence that I had to work towards and feel like I earned. You know, so out of context, I could see where it would come off kind of like maybe arrogant or kind of like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Like, we haven't, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, my intentions were pure.
Yeah.
I've always just represented a little bit, you know, and that's the thing about Robstown, bro. Like, say what you want about Robstown, but when the town fucks with somebody, they fuck with them. You know what I'm saying? Like they get behind their peoples, bro. When someone's doing something cool, I mean, there's people everywhere that are gonna be, like, you're all bad now type shit. You know what I'm saying? There's haters everywhere, but for the most part in Robstown, like if the town fucks with you, you got love out here. Like they really get behind you, And I
100%.
just knew that we would have something to offer because I thought it was just such a cool event, bro. Like no one's done anything like that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like before I got interrupted by my technical difficulties, I was saying there was another part to that sentence, right? I was saying like, yeah, at first I was like, wait, what? But then that's something I would do because I love like the fact that you felt strong enough and confident enough about your team, and the support and everything you just mentioned. Like we're so used to trying to grow up like being told to be humble, be timid, be this, be that. And it's like, no, we can also be empowered. We can feel powerful. We can feel like we deserve a spot at the table or we have our own tape. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
100%, I was like, it really wasn't even, it didn't take too much of like mental debate to be like, oh yeah, bet. That's a done deal. Let's get it. And I remember y'all performed and it was a perfect way to top off the show. Me and my Theo were like right by the stage, like jamming out, like, my
I
Theo
remember
knows.
your Theo, bro. Yeah, he got down. I
Yeah,
still
he's
got
always cool.
pictures with him and shit. He was cool.
Yeah, shout out my Theo David, by the way.
With David.
Yeah, but that's so then we met. So it was the Blitz, but leading up to the Blitz, I was working on a mural outside Lopez.
Yeah.
We did that, and then you had stopped by there. Jesse was with you.
Speaking of that, bro.
You
Right
got
here.
yeah.
I got this hanging in my jam room, bro. I took it down just to bring it on camera right now. But and I take a lot of inspiration from this, bro, because this is like the epitome of Robstown right here. You know what I mean? It encapsulates the whole fucking onda. And you wrote something here. You said 280, keep killing shit, bro. ZK all day. You already know we're just getting started. And every
Yes,
once in a
sir.
while, I'm just like, fuck, man, like, having a rough, I'll look up and be like, you know what, like, he's right, bro. Just getting started, so it's okay, We got a lot of steps. We got a lot of steps left to take, but we taking them.
That's the thing. We're taking them, and you know what's crazy about that is like the design for the mural and that design that you just posted right there. I started sketching it, and I was working like 12 hours like at a factory job, and I started sketching it, and I would sneak in sketches like in between work, and then I would paint like during lunch breaks and like just chip away at it bit by bit by bit. And then I knew it was like eventually I was gonna make something else with it. So when I see that, I think about me in the factory, like trying to hide from the boss, like trying to hide from the supervisor, and but making it happen by any means necessary. And it ended up being like a, really liked piece. I was actually asked about it like yesterday or the day before. Um, but yeah, so the way we met around art, around creativity, around not only that, but our community, right? Art and community, like where we're from, we share that the similar place, and then me going back doing these events, like it forced me to go look for creatives in Robstown. And back then, the only people I was like, I was focused more on the streets, not really looking forward, like to looking towards the creatives in Robstown. I was more like I was just a creative on my own in my own thing, doing my thing.
Yeah.
But now that I do these events down there every once in a while, it kept me like put my antennas up. So when we met, I'm like, man, they're doing really cool shit out there, like, and they're from Robstown and represent. So it was like, it was really cool that we met on those terms. Now, we touched a little bit on it in your bio, but you want to talk more about that? Like, how did you get like really like into music? How was your story, like from like when you started? How did you know it was going to be music over anything else? And how did you go from there?
But one more thing about the mural before I hit that. I wanted to touch on how you said art kind of connected us, and we actually got to spend some time and chill doing the mural while you were doing all the fucking, all the artist shit. Me and the homie, who was it, bro? I can't remember right now, but it was me and someone else, and we were out there helping you
Was
outline
it
and
Jesse?
shit. No,
It wasn't Jesse or Ray?
Ray, bro, it was fucking
Yeah.
Ray. That's right.
Shout out Ray for helping on the mural.
Shout out to Ray, bro. Yeah, and we were out there, and I spent quite a few hours out there with you guys doing that shit because I wanted to earn my name on the little corner, the little tag. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to just go and put it. I wanted to earn that shit. I wanted to be part of that history because it's a historical piece, bro. It'll be a damn shame if they ever tear that shit down. Somebody already fucking wrecked into it. I don't know how. It's crazy. It's a wildest place to wreck, but yeah. But anyway, so yeah, getting into music. My dad actually plays guitar, right? He played in an 80s metal band type shit. And I guess, just growing up, being a kid, watching him play, just being fascinated with the instrument, it was something that I kind of could always just do. You know what I mean? Like as far back as I remember, I could just play guitar. But when I was a kid, I wasn't like, oh, I want to be a musician or I want to be in a band. I wasn't even thinking about that until my early 20s. You know what I mean? I never really had the dreams of just being in a rock band and touring and blah blah, doing all that shit, making records. I just liked guitar. To me, at the time when I was a kid, it was another activity. It was like, I'm gonna play Nintendo with the homies, then I'll play a little bit of guitar, then we'll probably go outside and play tag, you know what I'm saying? And it was just one of those things. But a lot of people that grew up with me probably remember this if they're watching this shit. But when I was in middle school, I got in a lot of trouble for being a little rebel, little criminal motherfucker. And not a criminal, but it's a little rebel. Yeah. And my parents put me in my place, rightfully so, because I was down a fucked up path. And a lot of the homies I was running around with at that time aren't even around anymore. They've passed on or they're locked up. And I'm sure that's something that a lot of people from our area and similar areas can relate to, right? But anyway, so my parents checked me and they were like, you're not going, because I'm a fucking skater boy, right? I used to skate all the time. That's it's a big part of what made me who I am was just the culture of skating growing up and shit. And they're like, okay, well, you're not gonna go skate for a year. Like, you're not gonna go do shit for a year. Like, you're fucking up. You're gonna focus on school, blah blah. This isn't that. You're not doing shit for a year, right? So I pretty much got grounded for a year. It's fucking crazy. But I'm kind of like, I'm kind of grateful for that because that's what really put me in tune with like my artistry and my passion for just music and guitar specifically because I have shit else to do, bro. It was, you know what I mean? I couldn't go do anything. So I got home from school, I'd watch Dragon Ball Z, eat some fucking pizza rolls, and then like all I had was like my Nintendo and the guitar. So like you can only play fucking Nintendo for so long, you know. So
Yeah.
eventually I picked up my guitar, bro, and I just, you know, I just went hard with it.
So it was a place, it was a way for you to like to get lost in. It was something for you to get lost in when you didn't have any avenue.
Escapism for sure.
Yeah,
For
that
sure.
that's so then so like it started with escapism. So then when you were you doing were you like doing like covers of bands that you knew about? Were you learning like that? And so then when did you go from it being like a form of escapism to a form of expression, right? Expressing your own personal stories. And when did you go from like covering stuff also to like writing and like diving into like your own concepts and venting that stuff?
When I was a teenager, that's when it came. Yeah, I guess around maybe 15, 16 is when I used it more so as expression than just like escapism. Because when I was younger, I would just learn all my favorite guitar players' music. You know, I was fucking like 11 years old, just trying to learn Jimi Hendrix and learning fucking yeah, dude, and Randy Rhoads and shit. Just you know, all the OGs. Just and it gave me a sense of accomplishment as well because it was like everybody loves these dudes, right, including myself. And it's like if I could just play that a quarter as good, like you know what I mean, just a fraction as good as they can, like fucking I'm cool with that, you know, and that was my mentality as a kid. And then I guess as I got a little bit older, probably around sophomore, junior year, I started kind of like, oh, I can like fucking write songs, right? But that also developed over time because it playing music is one thing, having the inclination to play an instrument and writing music is a totally different on that, right? It's a totally different thing and it's a skill set in itself. So I started developing that skill like around like 15, 16 years old. I started kind of just writing my own little parts and trying to do guitar solos over them and shit. And I listened back to some of those old recordings semi recently. I was going through old demos and shit. And the songs are so like ambitious. You know what I mean? They're just so like everywhere. There's no real structure. It's just kind of like just go, go, go the whole fucking time. It's some good shit in there though. You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely from a different like version of myself. You know what I mean? Now I write totally different. I feel like I'm okay at it now. You know, I'm pretty decent at it. Um, and yeah, so it's kind of around like high school, middle of high school, I started using it as a form of expression. And but even then, I never really. It was more so just for fun. Because like I said, I never really had any ambitions to be in a band, bro. So I was like in my early 20s. I didn't start ZombieKing until I was 23. You know, there's a lot of kids that grow up playing in bands and playing shows when they're fucking 13 years old, 14 years old, 15, all the way through to whenever. You know what I mean? So I kind of got in the game late, if you think about it, because a lot of the people who get into it, like I said, at an early age, they're already bit by that bug, by like, oh, shit, I want to be in a band, I want to play shows. And they're doing that shit at like 14, 15 years old. And I didn't play my first show until I was probably like 23 or 24, which is still young as fuck. But like, you know what I'm saying? But in comparison to where a lot of other people usually start off, yeah, I guess it would be considered late. But yeah, so that's pretty much it.
I think you brought up a couple of really good points there. For one, like the timeline thing, that's really big because I didn't choose to take my artwork seriously till I was 25. And what you mentioned two words, in comparison. And I think that's really important because a lot of the times we feel like we're behind or we feel like we haven't, like we've already missed this and that, but that's in comparison, right? In comparison to other people. When we like know that our timeline is our timeline, it doesn't matter what anybody else, then you're right on time, right? You're right on time for your timeline. And I thought 25 was like late also. And I'm like, you know what? This is my story. This is my timeline. And I didn't take art seriously as a youngster because I didn't have a chance to, like I said, when we're in the streets, you're in the streets. That's the focus. And like, there's no room to be, to be an artist, that's too
And something
soft.
like
That's
that,
too weak.
yeah, something like that just seems so far fetched too when you're in that state,
Yeah. And it's so like, and that's the thing, right? Coming from where we come from, the audacity to tell yourself that you're an artist and make a living and want to make a living and pursue this dream, it's an audacity. It's almost delusional until people start seeing proof of it. So to tell yourself that and keep yourself inspired is such a big thing. You have to love the act of the process of creating more than anything, because that's what's going to keep you going. Not the end result.
Yeah.
So
You
you
said
gotta like
something.
love what you do, right?
You said delusion, right? And a lot of what we do as creatives, as artists, is you walk a fine line between delusion and self-awareness. You almost have to be a little bit delusional to motivate yourself, to escape all the criticisms that other people may put it on you, or more importantly, that you're putting on yourself, right? So it's like it's a fine line, bro, and it gets wild. And that's
Oh,
why I feel like it drives a lot of creative people to kind of act out or partake in certain vices or whatever the fuck, because it takes a lot to be vulnerable with your art, right? It takes a lot to put your shit out there and give it to the world, because it's such a personal thing. um Once you put it out there, it's not even really yours anymore. It's fucking out there. Like, it's yours, but it's out there, bro. You know what I'm saying? And people are people. And you're gonna have people who fuck with it. You're gonna have people who are like, don't do this anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you gotta kind of almost be, like I said, delusional to a sense, to where you could just be like, nah, fuck that. Like, like, I am an artist. I am, like, if you want to fuck with it, it's because they suck. You know what I'm saying? They don't fucking. But you also kind of maintain a level of self-awareness, because then you can get lost in that delusion. And a lot of people get like, they just go through crazy spirals or get a crazy ego or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? So it's a constant like checks and balances. It's like, it's wild.
oh, absolutely. And having that like ebb and flow between I know like I'm a bad mother when it comes to this art
Yeah.
shit, but
Yeah.
also that, and also like, oh, there's room for improvement. Oh, I can tweak this. Oh, I'll be
Yeah.
open. And like me, I'm open. I rarely even ask for critiques nowadays. Like, I don't ask for critiques on my work unless it's rare, or and if I ask for a critique, it's going to be from somebody I respect in the field,
Yeah.
right, in the medium. But
The resident.
I won't post my stuff on social media asking for like, hey, what do you think about this? Or should I move? Like, I absolutely won't. I won't post it until I know it's done. But if I post a work in progress, it's because I already know the finished product. Like,
Yeah.
but having that balance, right, between knowing that you got this shit, but also knowing that there's room to grow. There's always room to grow and be better, right, as an artist. But I think also there's this interesting meme that said artists have this weird like urge to share stuff with the world and hide from it at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, here's my stuff. Like, oh, but I know it's not
Yeah.
like, this back and forth. And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about. So how did you go? How did y'all go about the band? Like coming up with the band, creating the band, putting it together. How did that come about?
So you touched a bit on my bio. When I was much younger, I was in college, and I was majoring in liberal arts, right? First I was majoring in music, but I was like, I don't know why the fuck I'm majoring in music, because I can't even read music, right? So like, that was the thing, like, well, I can play music, so I guess I'll major in music. But it was like, so I changed it to liberal arts. And anyway, so like you touched on my bio, we had like a close relative commit suicide, right? And that's a thing that I've since then have been like a real, I guess, vocal about within my circle and the people that I fuck with, just like suicide awareness and shit, because that's something that not only plagues a lot of people like of our culture, but just the world in general, you know, especially since the pandemic. Like we'll touch on that in a little bit, I guess, when we get there. But that's a thing that people just kind of sweep under the rug, bro. Like it's skyrocketed recently. Just the whole just suicide, the suicide rate is fucked right now. And it's sad because there's a lot of things that people could be doing to seek help. There's a lot more, there should be more resources. And especially people of like ethnicity, right? To where like the people are kind of like in the barrios and shit who fucking don't even, you know what I mean? They don't even go to the doctor when they're sick type shit. Like, let alone when they have something internal that they're struggling with, right? But anyway, so I went through that tragedy, losing that my cousin slash he was like my best friend, right? My brother. And after that, I just like, you know, college, like I kind of nothing really made sense when you're in the fog of that, you know, you're so young and having gone through that. And I was really closely involved with the situation, right? So it wasn't like I just got a call one day, like I was really close to the situation. So it affected me to a point where like give a fuck about next Friday's test. You know what I'm saying? Like my homie just, you know, left the world. Like I don't, you know, fuck history or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't concentrate anymore. And my family thought it best to just, you know what, take a break. Can always go back. You know, I stacked up some credits and shit. And just so and it wasn't even like do that and focus on music. It was just like take a break, right? Just take a break, get your affairs in order and shit. So during that break, a mutual friend, I think you know Raymond Rodriguez. It's okay. So he's one of the OG skaters. Shouts out Raymond, Team Handicap. He was at my house around that time. We were just bullshitting, right? And Raymond would always like be like, he would always be telling me to play guitar and shit. And at that time, I hadn't played guitar since that event occurred. My cousin's suicide. It had been I like 2 years goes by, right? So after those 2 years, I didn't even touch an instrument for like at least a good solid 2.5 years. Anyways, reconnected with Raymond. We're hanging out. He'd come over, we'd just be chilling, and he'd always be telling me, "Hey, play guitar, dude. Play your guitar. Play something. Play this and that." So I'm like, all right. So one day I get my guitar. I'm playing some shit. The dude's recording me, unbeknownst to me, right? I don't know he's recording me. He's recording me all slick and shit with his phone. The next day I wake up, he uploaded the video to YouTube and like shared it on Facebook. And like that was the first like I guess piece that was publicized of me playing guitar. I remember being so upset because I still am like a perfectionist, but even especially back then, before I had ever showed anyone anything of mine, I was just like, bro, why would you like I fucking suck. I wasn't even warmed up. This is that. Like, how dare you? Anyways, people fuck with it, whatever. It got around to a band that they were signed to a record label called Victory Records. They're a big label. They got a lot of bands and shit, right? They were kind of within the area, and they, I guess, needed a lead guitar player. So they saw the video. They reached out to me through a mutual friend or a relative. I can't remember. And we met up, whatever. They kind of came over and checked out my music, or just saw me play, whatever. Anyways, that didn't work out because we were just two totally different types of people, right? Like I would have had to try to become something I wasn't to be a part of that, you know what I'm saying? That movement that they had going on. And I guess like at the time I decided like it was best to just fucking just keep my integrity. Like don't be fake on some fake shit just because these people are here and like they're, you know, we got a record deal and all this shit. So to a young, you know, guitarist, a young musician, they like you dangle that shit over their head. They're like, oh shit, you know, it's like sounds like a golden ticket type shit, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, should I do that or like, then I gotta dress like a girl now and shit, you know what I'm saying? Which is fine if you're into that, but like, you know, that wasn't really anything I was interested in doing. But yeah, like I said, if you're into that, I support that shit. You know what I'm saying? Do you express yourself how you want to express yourself. I just choose to express myself differently, right? So I was like, no, dude, like, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm not gonna do that. So that's when I realized I was like, you know what? Like that's interesting. Like these guys hit me up. I'm sure A&R over at the record label was like informed, like, hey, we're gonna go check out this dude. He might play guitar for us. They offered me a contract type shit. Um, and I just thought that it was interesting that these guys at the record label now know of me, even if it's just the slightest bit. They know that there's this kid in Robstown that can fucking play his ass off, right? Apparently, and that's what prompted me to like, fuck, maybe I should just start my own fucking band, bro. And that's when I started the band. I was like 22 when I started the band. Didn't find like solid members until I was probably like about 23-ish, going on 24. That's when we I went through like several singers, bro, a couple drummers, fucking like a dozen bass players. Went through a bunch of people, right? Just dudes that I grew up with or whatever that were just kind of like, yeah, I'll fucking jam with you, bro. I'll jam with you. And then like, but as I started to get more serious, I was like, okay, I need more like, I need more serious like musicians, right? I need motherfuckers that are like really about this shit. Because I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go hard. I'm not gonna just. I don't want to just be like a fucking rock band. I want to be like a band. And that's when those like aspirations hit me. After I guess that's what inspired it. Getting hit up by those dudes in that one band that were signed to Victory Records and having A&R aware of who I was at the time and just being so young at the time. I was like, well, fuck, man. I guess I'm gonna do my own thing, and it's been a journey to say the least. It's trials, tribulations, fucking roller coaster, ups and downs, bro. Hella downs, but the ups are sick as fuck. When you start coming up, it's like it's the best thing in the world. So you just got to endure all the G forces because it's hella G forces for the majority of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I bet. And, like for performers and everything, especially nowadays. So then the people do you wanna mention the people name who's all in ZombieKing now and like
Okay, so we got Juan Manuel, my singer. Shouts out to Juan. He's actually currently recovering from a terrible accident. You and I talked a little bit about off cam. Um, I'll touch on that in a little bit. So we got Juan Manuel on vocals. We got Drew the Dragon, Andrew, another roll bit motherfucker from the Vadio. We got him on bass. And we got Adon Renegade on drums, bro. Adon's like he's well known in the scene, I guess you could say. He was like in 13 bands when he joined mine. I was like, listen, bro, you gotta do something about that. You gotta start breaking hearts, motherfucker, because like, we're going hard on our shit. And he's been a great asset since then. He's brand new. He just joined the band a couple years ago. But I mean, he pretty much joined right when the pandemic hit. And like, yeah, so that's a whole other thing. Maybe we can get into that in a bit.
yeah. Well, how do y'all get together? Like how what's the creative process for y'all? Like how do y'all create something together? How do you all meet up? Do you all do you start with the song? Do you start with like the lyrics idea? Like how do you go about creating something together as a band?
So a lot of times how most of our music comes about, I'm honestly just sitting outside with my cats. Just fucking with my cats and just trying to catch a vibe. Just trying to catch a vibe. If it's a clear night, I'm looking at the stars and shit. I'm just trying to catch a vibe because really that's where it comes from. It's about catching a vibe. It's not so much, I never sit down and think like, okay, I'm gonna write a song that sounds like this. I'm gonna write a song that sounds like that. It's like whatever I'm feeling, like I gotta just feel like a type of way. And then I feel like whatever I produce, once I'm in that state of creativity, it's something it's gonna be worth it to me, right? It's gonna be something that's like, okay, like this is gonna fucking like rekindle my passion for music because honestly, I struggle with I guess maintaining my artistry. I mean, at this point, like you said, you mentioned a bit ago how we're young, we're kids running around in the streets and shit. You're not really considering, you're an artist, right? But you're not truly embracing it. You got other shit going on, whatever. You haven't been exposed to certain things. So at this point in my life, I would just consider myself an artist through and through. Even when I'm not creating in my everyday walking life, I'll I guess, react to things in a certain way, or I'll deal with shit a certain way, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the creative in me. Like, I need to process this. You know what I mean? I need to express this that I'm feeling. I need to get this out. Otherwise, I'm gonna be wilding or some shit. So it just starts with me catching a vibe. I write all the music, like I guess the core of the song, right? I'll just get ideas out on a guitar. I've been writing a lot like on piano lately for some reason. Just write piano melodies and chord progressions and then transpose it to guitar. So that's something that I that is, I guess, new for me. And I guess that's what I was going to touch on as well. Is kind of always trying to do things a little bit differently and not getting burnt out with the same creative process, because I kind of don't have a creative process, like I do, but I don't. Like, I don't have like this ritual that I do that I'm gonna like. It's just when it hits, and it's just I gotta go about it however the fucking universe, God, whoever, the ether just bestows upon me that little bit of inspiration. That's like, okay, I can go. And you mentioned we were talking about it off cam. What were you talking about? The duende?
Oh, yeah, the duende. So I was reading up on that, like, and then talking about how the origin of the term genius was, at first it was like this separate entity outside of yourself, and it wasn't about a specific person. Not until the Renaissance with Michelangelo, Leonardo, and them, that they looked at one person as the genius. Before that, genius was this thing that would enter you, or that would help you, like, give you this idea or give you this thing, right? And the duende also was another version of that. And they talk about how in that same book they talk about artists like Tom Waits would get this idea and he would see it coming, but it would be coming from, like, I think he was in traffic or something. He was in traffic and he had no access to a writing utensil or whatever at the time. And the song was there, like wanting to come out, and he stopped, literally said out loud, like, "Are you serious? Like, you see me right now in traffic. I'm stuck. I have no way to get this idea down, and you're gonna hit me now?" Like, but it was a thing outside of himself. But I feel like when it comes to that, like you were talking about, being open to, instead of being so structural about creativity, I like to view it as a conversation between you and like you said, like God and the universe. Like, it's a conversation between you and the piece. So I have an idea of what I want to make, but the piece might have a different idea of what it wants to become.
Yeah.
And we kind of meet in the middle. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make this thing that looks like this, and then along the way it's like, oh, that's changing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's better. Yeah. All right. Let's meet right there. And it's like, wow, that's better than I even thought. Or like a mistake happens along the way. But I feel like you said, being open to it hitting when it hits, and existing as an artist. Yeah. Like knowing that you're an artist through and through. You exist, you move through the world in a way that's creative, whether it be being hypersensitive or hyper aware, things like that. I feel like that makes it to where you're creating even when you're not physically creating.
Mhm. Yeah, that's interesting as fuck, bro. My homies and I, shout out to Jesse. Jesse and I would talk about this a lot. How a lot of times we feel like certain ideas are like almost presents. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, okay. So a bit ago we were talking about having that that confidence of like knowing you're a bad motherfucker, but also like trying to be humble and knowing, like, that there's always improvements to be made and such. And it's kind of that, like, you kind of have to believe, bro. Like you like fucking, I mean, that's what all this shit. First you must believe, right? You have to. And it, like I said, it's a fine line between delusion and self-awareness. And if you can walk that fucking line, bro, like you have to carry yourself as an artist. You have to move a certain way, you have to breathe a certain way, because that's like you're kind of accumulating these ideas that sometimes may not even be coming from within yourself. It's like these blessings or some shit, you know what I'm saying? Like shit that you're just kind of picking up, and then at some point it just hits, and it's almost like, here's this fucking melody, or here's this fucking whatever, here's this color that I just gave you, like, go do something with it, right? Here's what it's supposed to be. And a lot of times I'll hear myself playing And when I can escape, like when okay, so when I hear myself and I'm hearing it like I'm like it's not me, right? Like I'm hearing somebody else. It's not even me. When I'm listening back to our music and I can zone out to where it's like, damn, this motherfucker's bad. But it's like it's me though, you know what I'm saying? That's when I know it's like, okay, like thank you God, because that was, because it's almost like it's not me, bro. It's almost like that wasn't like it's me. There's a part of me. In the DNA of it, but it came from somewhere else. So when you mentioned that with the doing this shit, I was like, oh fuck, like I didn't know that was an actual thing, like a concept. So that was
Yeah.
very interesting. But yeah, so anyways, getting back on the creative process, I'll write the songs, like the bulk of the music. We'll bring it into the jam room. I'll show my bass player and my drummer, and they'll do their thing as a rhythm section, and I'll usually have ideas like, I'm kind of hearing this and that or whatever, but they're really good at what they do. So they're good at picking up like what I'm kind of projecting and adding their own shit to it and just making it pop. And then once we do that, we'll get a few solid ideas out. I'll structure the song, and then I'll send it to my singer. And he'll usually just sit on it for a bit, write some lyrics and shit. He's the lyricist, so he writes pretty much all the lyrics. And then and then we hit pre-production, we hit the studio, and like you said, sometimes you go on with an idea, and it's like, no, like it's supposed to be something else. You go in thinking it's gonna be something, but it ends up evolving into something else, and it's usually better. And you said something else also about like making mistakes on like happy accidents on some Bob Ross shit, right? Sometimes the mistakes is what makes the fucking song. You kind of fuck up, right? You do something different, you're like, oh wait, that actually sounded sick. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's different. Like let's explore that a little more. And like, so the creative process, it's always, I mean, it starts with me, but it goes in all kinds of fucking directions and shit. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's amazing. I think being able to pull that together with a group of people is amazing,
Yeah.
because me, like I work a lot like in solitude. Everything I do is 100% for like in solitude. So like imagining a creative process with a few people and making it to where it balances out and is symbiotic is amazing to witness. But I think so when it comes to things that are going on now, right? You had 2 years off with the pandemic, where y'all were forced to stop performing, and all that stuff, forced to distance. Um, that's just one of many, and then people lost a lot of people along the way since the pandemic started. But now we're going back even further to loss, like along the path of life, or troubles and tribulations, and creative people being open and sensitive to all these things, especially also. Do you find nowadays also that what have been the challenges as a creative, and do you find that the creative process or creating has helped with a lot of this stuff, or has it made it harder to create?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. So our current, like what we have out at the moment, we have our debut EP that literally dropped the week COVID hit, right? The whole shutdown. So it was like the worst possible timing, whatever. But it fucked with me for a while, right? It really bothered me. But then as the pandemic kept sweeping the nation, or the world for that matter, a lot of people started losing a lot more than what I had lost, right? So I try to be like grateful that it was just my music career, right, that got kind of fucked over, because a lot of people lost a lot more, and most people lost the air in their lungs. A lot of people didn't make it, and I personally know, I'm sure we all do. We all know people that got sick and aren't here anymore, and it's definitely a tragedy, man. And like you said, tragedy, it can kind of do both, right? When you're in the throes of you're just in the shit of something, it can demoralize you, or it could like rekindle something in you. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. So it can, at times you could be like, oh, fuck this, like, I'm not inspired or whatever. But you can also tap into that as well if you have that self-awareness that we were talking about. and be like, you know what, like maybe this is something that I'm obviously feeling so much, right? As a as an individual, I'm feeling for the world, I'm feeling for all the people around. I can just have this like just eat me up inside and demoralize me, or I can try to spin this. But with being a band, I guess where it's different because you're an artist, you can do a painting overnight if you wanted to, right? I'm sure. And have it at a museum the fucking following weekend or whenever, time permits. Um, with a band, it's such like a long process because like you said, it's like a collaborative effort. So you're having to deal with other people and their temperaments and their schedules and their just the way they work and having to, what I mean? And it's a relationship, honestly. It's almost like having just hella girlfriends or something, or hella boyfriends, you know what I mean? It's like it's a relationship in itself, At the end of the day, we're all homies, but we definitely have our band relationship to where like, you know what I mean? But anyway, so yeah, it in the beginning it made creating very difficult. Like we stopped. We had to stop. There was nothing we could do. The world shut down. And so anyways, Dead to Life is the EP. An EP is pretty much like a miniature album, right? It's like a half record. That is out right now. Shameless plug. Check out Dead to Life. It's streaming on everywhere. ZombieKing. And actually, okay, so we had a meeting this morning, right, with A&R, with the development team, and they're just saying how we're gonna revisit the EP later this year because we didn't have the opportunity to push it the way we feel like it deserved to be pushed, right? Because just my luck, I finally, get myself a record deal, make a fucking record, cut a record against all odds, and in the week it drops, the fucking world ends, bro. Talk about, so I was like, oh my God, like it's fucking, but like I said, as time went on, people lost a lot more than I did personally. So I kind of just try to be humble in that. And so in the beginning, it made creating very difficult because we couldn't even fucking get together in the same room to jam, let alone go record music and vibe and play shows or do what we do. But since then, a lot has happened to all of us personally. And as a band, and we took these 2 years off, not by choice, but at some point we decided to kind of embrace it, and we saw it as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves personally and reinvent ourselves as artists and as a band, and we're on the brink of that. So with that being said, we're about to roll out a whole bunch of new fucking music. So shouts out if anyone's watching, you fuck with the jams, we're about to roll out a whole bunch of new shit, bro.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that real quick. I'm gonna share actually some of the shots that you
there you go.
some of the shots that you had shared with us.
This is exclusive shit right here. Nobody's seen this. All the people on my page are gonna be pissed. Like, how come you don't put this on your live, motherfucker? Yeah, so that's the homie Jesse right there. That's the homie Jesse being fucking ravished by a bunch of crazed zombie girls or something or whatever.
How intense that looks.
Yeah, that's the homie Andrew. Okay, so these are all like still shots from the music videos. So the music video is being edited right now. It's about 95% done. We're doing it all in-house. We've worked with the video production companies in the past, and this one was actually filmed during the middle of the pandemic where things were kind of starting to calm down. We were able to actually be in the same room with each other and nobody was sick, you know what I'm saying? So we filmed this under hella restrictions, with time and funding and just fucking resources. And it's been a project like about 2 years in the making, to be honest. So this is from a song called Exposed that we're dropping really soon. And that's gonna be the first of many projects that we have planned to roll out this year and going into next year.
Yeah, and y'all have some so you already have videos out, other videos on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we got a few.
Yeah, I have we'll be sharing those here in the comments here in a bit too. Shout out to Cuz for helping out with that. So okay, so y'all have the album, you have the EP, You have the video coming out.
Yep.
What about performances? What about any pop-ups? Like y'all got anything coming up on schedule or?
Yeah, we're scheduled for a show this fall. I don't want to give the date because it's still being worked out, right? I don't know motherfuckers will be mad at me and shit if we end up taking the date. But it's gonna be it's gonna be like we're shooting for around Halloween time. We're shooting around Halloween time. By then we'll have the new music out, the new video out, new everything out, dog. So we're shooting for around Halloween time. But we'll be making that announcement hopefully sooner rather than later.
Nice.
But yeah, so we got the EP out, That's Alive. That's been out, you know what I mean? So if you ain't heard it by now, I'm like, come on, you know. So check out That's Alive. That's out. We're dropping Exposed.
Where do they find it?
Anywhere and everywhere. Someone already leaked it to YouTube. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, all that shit, everything. But yeah, so we got the new vibes coming out. So the still shots you just showed are from a music video from a song called Exposed, and that's something we wrote 2 years ago, right? We have new songs that are fucking brand new that we just wrote a few months ago. We just cut in the studio, right? So those are also within the the scheduled rollout. But Exposed is something we've been saying on 2 years. It turned into so many different things. Back on that Duende shit, like it turned into so many things because we had just got booked for a Halloween show. Speaking of Halloween shows, in 2020 at Brewster Street Ice House, right? And that's like one of like the prestigious, what I consider prestigious venues in Corpus Christi because they don't just fuck with any band, you know. Like you if you're a local band, you're trying to play a show there, it's like it's damn near impossible. You gotta pay your dues. You gotta have you gotta know someone or some shit, or you gotta leave your mark somehow, right? You gotta make some noise. So we finally got invited to play Brewster Street, and we were like, holy shit. And we were like, well, fuck, we gotta get something together to promote this show, right? So we wrote the song Exposed in like a day. It was just one of those that it just hit right away. You know, some songs take a while and some songs just are instantaneous. It depends, right? That one was one of the it was instantaneous pretty much. We went to the studio, we recorded it, we got it mixed and mastered. We got it mastered by Jens Bogren. I might be butchering his last name, Brogren. Jens Bogren. He's a renowned music producer from Sweden. He's done all the fucking rock stars, bro. He's done everybody, right? So we had him. We had him work on our song and shit. So very proud of that. But like I said, this is a project we've been sitting on for 2 years. So we had that show booked at Brewster Street. And we're like, okay, let's cut a song and we'll put together like a quick little video of us in the studio jamming it. We'll put that out and it'd be like, okay, come to the show, right? We're gonna use that as promotion for the show. And then our producer that we were working with at the time was like, man, you guys should like do a little more with the video. Don't do something quick. Like the song deserves to be pushed a little harder. So don't release it on whatever date we had to, plan, like on show day. I think we're gonna drop it on the day of the show, just to get people to like, oh fuck, like come listen to the new song at the show. But he was like, no, like take your time with it, blah blah. But then by this time, the second wave of COVID hit again. So shit's already getting fucked off. People are getting sick. Like everything's kind of a risk factor now, right? So we sat on it for a little longer. So when it came time to like, okay, we need to release this shit, we had to revisit it, and it was like, it sucked, right? Because it's like we were at a certain place with a certain mentality of like, yeah, we're gonna just do this real quick. So there wasn't high expectations. So for not having high expectations, it was fine, for what we had. But then when it came time to revisit it, and we had these higher expectations of like, okay, now it's got to hit. We watched what we had, and we were like, fuck, bro, we got to make this better. Like we got to make this sick as fuck, right? So that's what we did, and we spent a lot of time on that. I want to shout out Jesse. He's probably watching. Shouts out Jesse Christ, and a couple other my homies. Shouts out Isaiah Epps for really coming through and helping me just get a vision together and fucking execute. You know what I mean? And we did the damn thing. We fucking set up a little set in my jam room. You know what I'm saying? We set up a little set there. We did some movie magic shit. Like it was cool. We had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of work. We had a lot of fun doing it. We learned a lot, right? So we finished that project, and we finished that a little. I feel like last last winter, like probably like around November of last year, right? So we're like, okay, now we need more projects. Like now we need new songs and shit. Cause I didn't want to just drop that. Cause I could release that shit right now, right? I could put that out right now, but then I don't have anything to follow it up. Yeah, I mean, we do, but it's those projects are still, being worked on. But at the time, I'm thinking, okay, so it's November 2021. I dropped this new song. Then what am I going to post for the next 6 months? You know what I'm saying? Like I want this song to make a little bit of noise, make a little splash, and then drop another song to make a bigger splash. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully we can create a wave and write that bitch out somewhere. But like that was the goal. Was like, okay, we have this project, and we're eager to share it. Like you were saying, there's that kind of like you're kind of vulnerable. You don't really want to put something out there, but you also kind of want to put something out there. You know what I'm saying? So it was that. I was like, I just want to drop this shit, but we have to be like strategic with it. So that's it, and it's been a process. So like I said, we went through a lot personally and as a band to where we finally were at a point where we could meet up, jam out songs, hit the studio, invest in ourselves. That's another thing that's important that I feel like a lot of up and coming artists or young artists in the making need to keep in mind. Like you have to invest in yourself, bro, and not even just financially, like mentally, emotionally, and even financially. You have to invest in yourself and in your art, because that's the only way you're really gonna, like, you know what I mean? Because if you don't give a fuck about it, or can't expect anyone else to give a fuck about it, right? But
Exactly.
so that's what we were doing. We had this project. We're like, fuck, let's put it out. But it's like, you know what? Let's sit on it for a bit. Let's get some new songs written. Let's hit the studios, get some shit cut, and so that's where we're at right now. And we did that. So we're on the verge of dropping Exposed, hopefully within the next few weeks, bro. Hopefully, which we're aiming for September for sure.
Nice. It's good
And
to have
that's
it.
gonna start the rollout.
Oh, that's gonna be what kicks it off.
That's what's gonna kick it off.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I
Actually,
think.
what's really gonna kick it off is we have like this teaser trailer type
Mhm.
shit. I know I might get yelled at. A&R might yell at me for leaking this right now, but yeah, I do it for the one time, bro. But we have like this teaser trailer that it's in within theme of the song and the music video, and even the band art that we're gonna be pushing, and the merch and shit, right? Um, so that's really what's gonna kick it off, and that's like we can drop that shit any day now, to be honest. So you just got to be tuned in to the ZombieKing socials, Instagram, Facebook, um, and yeah, so we're gonna drop that any day now, and that's gonna kind of give people a lot more of an idea of what we have planned for the rollout. So really excited about that.
Nice. I'm excited to check it out. So you were talking about what you mentioned what you've been through together as a band. I know I believe Juan, actually, speaking of things that you're going through as a band, Juan is actually going through something right now, and y'all are what's going on with Juan? How's he doing?
He's doing good at the moment, thank God. He was involved in a freak accident, car accident. He suffered like a potentially life-threatening injury, but it was a good thing that he got into surgery when he did, bro, because it would have been bad. It's bad now, but it would have been catastrophic. But he's recovering. He's doing good. He's eager to get back to jamming soon. I think he's doing some singing on his own, but he doesn't really have the energy yet. He's just kind of getting there, working there. So we can't wait to have him back. That's for sure. We're trying to, because like I said, we got a show that we have planned for this fall, and we just just can't wait to get the band back together type shit. But he's healing. Speaking of that, so we got a fundraiser, right? We got a food drive in Corpus Christi. I forget the restaurant. If you're following, if you could just follow the ZombieKing socials, everything's on there, right? So if you fuck with me or fuck with the band, all the details are on our post. So it's this Sunday coming up, 9/11, from 1 to 4 p.m. And it's gonna be a barbecue plate, so to help out the homie, to help him with the medical expenses and just help him get right, bro. So you can get back to us ASAP, get back to his family, get back to work, and you know do what we do. So that's going on this weekend. So if any of you guys feel inclined to, even if you can't like make it out there, if you could just share the event, like that would be sick. So it's on our socials. So maybe after this, you guys can check it out. if anyone's interested. I'd really appreciate it because
Yeah.
I fucking still hella fucking. I get calls every day, bro, from motherfuckers trying to collect money.
Yeah, no, we'll share
From the
that.
hospital and shit, you know.
Oh, I know.
Hospital facility.
They don't play about that.
They don't play.
So I think to top it off, to wrap it up, also wrap it all together. Also, if there's any last words or anything, any last comments anybody wants to throw in the chat or whatever, we'll check them out because we'll see all this afterwards too. So feel free to put that in the comments now. So one of the biggest things you just mentioned was investing in yourself. I feel like that's so important, especially for kids where we're from and for people from where we're from. Investing time, energy, and money. And let's say you don't have money right now. So there's this thing where they talk about if you have more money than time, then pay somebody to help you with certain things. If you have more time than money, then try to learn that on your own, right? But I want to talk about like ways to invest in yourself. And also when it comes to investing energy, I feel like what you take in is really important. Whether it be what kind of dramas, what kind of info from the internet, what kind of things you waste your mental psychic bandwidth on, you know, what do you open yourself up to, right? Because what do you feed yourself and then what comes out, you know? But I feel like that's so important. And time, a year is going to pass the same for everybody, right? The year is a year. But like if you get started on a project or something that you want to do now, you're either from a year from now. And I think my mom was talking about, we were talking about like going to the gym, getting healthy, doing this, doing that. I go, look, a year from now, you're either going to be a year further along or you're going to be still at square one looking for, you know, day one. Is this day one, you know, or one day? And it's like investing time into yourself is one of the most important things to do. And even if it feels like nothing is happening, right? And you're like learning, like when you were learning chords and when you were learning this and that, when I'm learning paints and different brushes and bit by bit by bit. And then by the time you know it, you look back and all of that has accumulated into your craft now, you know? So I think that investment is perfect. And then, yeah, and then once you get money, invest in proper equipment, proper materials, the resources, whatever. But I feel like us growing up the way we grew up, we're and now with people in the pandemic, example, your video, you learn how to be resourceful, even with minimal resources, right? You make shit happen. You make shit happen. No excuses. This is what we want to do. Let's make shit happen.
There's a will, there's a way, bro.
Absolutely. So on that note, I want to leave this last part open to you. And are there any are there any words of encouragement or inspiration that you want to give to what would you say to a kid in Robstown who is on the verge of like or battling with like whether or not to, you know, dive into something that's different, that's outside of the box, something that makes, you know, them happy, or you know, what would you say to somebody struggling with that within themselves? And anything else that you want to add to encourage and inspire the people in our community and beyond?
Yeah, man. So like you were touching on, just investing in yourself and being consistent. That's something I wish I did when I was much younger, was staying consistent, because that's how you make progress, you know? And it take, like you said, a year is a year for everybody, right? But a motherfucker who's going hard and is really investing in themselves and being consistent could put in 3 years worth of work in 1 year. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa, you can set yourself back 3 years in a year if you're fucking up, you know, if you're just not tapping into certain things that you know creatives need to tap into. And sometimes you mentioned earlier about like structure. A lot of creatives are kind of just like all over the place, right? Shit's like fucking just, it's all over the place. And some work best like that, but it does not hurt to incorporate a sense of structure, even if it's just getting a calendar out. You know what I'm saying? That's, even just doing that is difficult for some people. It's difficult for me, like getting the calendar out and doing, like, you know, putting shit down, like what you're gonna do, what you need to do to get yourself one step closer to your goal, to your artistry, to your show, to your whatever the fuck it is that you're trying to do, right? So I would say just to first of all embrace your artistry, right? Um, when we got signed a little while back, Channel 10, I think one of the sister stations came to interview me, and something that they asked me the same question, right? And I'm going to paraphrase. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I pretty much said something that along the lines of, it's okay to be an artist. It's okay to embrace that. It's okay to go against the grain, right? It's okay to stand out. It's okay to express yourself. Like, because where we come from, there's not a lot of opportunity regarding that realm, right? There's not even a lot of like even academically, there's art classes and music classes, but there's no passion like classes. There's not a class of fucking passion that's really, that's gonna help cultivate your mind and shape you a certain way. It's just like, okay, here's art projects, and that's cool. Or here's, here, learn how to read this fucking Jingle Bells or whatever the fucking music class. But like to really tap into like to children and kind of trying to bring that out of them or recognizing that potential, like and cultivating that, like I said, there's not a lot of that in our area, right? So it's hard for a lot of kids to like I said, like we're running around out here in the audio and shit. That shit's far-fetched. It's far-fetched, thinking you're going to be in a museum on the same wall as a Warhol, as a fucking right down in the next room from a Picasso, right? Which shouts out to you, because that's fucking sick as fuck, right? So congrats on that. And same, like I played shows with bands that are fucking superstars, right? Fucking rock stars and shit. I've been humbly reached out to by fans that we have in Poland, and in different states and shit. Arizona, New Mexico. We actually just had, I want to shout them out. Shouts out to Joseph and them and Michelle, fucking the New Mexico fans turned fan, bro. Now they're part of the familia now. They've made 2 trips already from New Mexico just to come meet us and hang out with us and shit. And we go to a little private show and fucking, but that shit's like, it's humbling. You know what I'm saying? That shit's like, it's almost like a sense of imposter syndrome. That's another thing, is like, you're probably gonna feel a sense of imposter syndrome if you're trying to motivate yourself to start, working towards certain like artistic or creative endeavors. You might feel like, well, like, am I even good enough? Or like, am I even really a fucking artist? Like, what the fuck do I think I am? Fucking posting this shit about. I was like people give a fuck. But that's a very real thing, and you there's ways to deal with that and combat that. And I mean, because like I said, I felt it recently when these people came down to meet us. I was like, what the fuck? Why you're driving all the way down here just for little us? Like, like, don't do that. Like, not worthy type shit. But something about that, it like reinvigorates the soul, bro, and it just rekindles the passion. If you're lacking a little bit of that, where we were for a time, they came down. We met them last year. They just came down recently again this past summer. When they came down, that really just like put shit into perspective for me. And I was like, oh shit, like this is why I work as hard as I work. This is why I invest in myself and in my bandmates. And this is why I push myself to stay consistent and creative. And it's very fulfilling, because at the end of the day, really why I'm pursuing this is to just reach a sense of fulfillment. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be a rock star. I'm not trying to be whatever the fuck. I just want to be fulfilled, bro. Whatever happens along the way, sick as fuck. But I want to motivate people. I want to inspire people through my art, the way that I've been inspired through other people's art. And I just want to be fulfilled in that. And it's, the pursuit of happiness, right?
Hell yeah.
So that's what I would leave off on, bro. I'd say, it's okay to be an artist. If you're gonna do the damn thing, do the damn thing. Fuck that imposter syndrome shit. Fuck the haters. Like, if you got it in you and you got it in you, then you do. You know what I'm saying? And just work hard, be consistent. But consistency is the key, though. That's the key in anything that you do, but especially in these kind of creative endeavors. Just be consistent, and you'll be one step closer towards fulfillment.
Hell yeah, definitely. And I feel like this conversation coming from both of us is really important for them also, because we're both from the same spot.
Yeah. Dude, I told some homies, I was like, hey bro, I want to do Bobby's fucking podcast and shit. And they're like, dude, that's like, they were just saying like, it's a sick ass crossover. It's cool for the local culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, I agree, dude. It's sick, I'm just fortunate that we connected when we did and did the the art blitz, because bro, that shit, it made me feel like what it must have felt like growing up in like a little Azteca village or some shit, where you wake up and there's a festival going on right outside your fucking door, because that shit was right here in the heart of the West Side, fucking 20 yards away from me. You know what I'm saying? Right here in the Vadio. So I remember waking up that day, stretching out in the backyard and just looking over the fence and seeing all the whole pachanga, bro. Everyone setting up and shit, and it was a vibe. And I just want to take time to thank you for that shit, bro. I was telling people the other day on my stream that you're one of the hardest working artists that I know, and that you do a lot for the local community and just the art community in general. But especially, you know, for like Chicano art and everybody here in Rodobed, like I really hope we get to do another blitz soon. We'll headline, and then
bet.
we'll make it. We'll have it pop off again, man. Because fuck, like that. I saw people that I see here out in the streets and shit, right? I saw a certain light in their eyes that night that I had never seen before, you know, because I'm out here and shit, I'm outside and shit, right? And I you know, I know people, and you know, you see people around your neighborhood and shit, and there's a lot of troubled people where we come from, right? A lot of people who hit the streets. I mean, we've been out in the streets ourselves, and I remember seeing certain people at that place, like, holy shit, like this is happening here, like here at the fucking, you know what I'm saying, the Vadio, like I can get on stage and grab a mic and fucking freestyle. No one's ever heard me freestyle, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I could fucking go tell jokes, like this is my, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I did a lot for a lot of people around here. Like I remember just soaking it all in and just looking at people's, like looking at their eyes and shit. Motherfuckers I never seen smile before around here in the neighborhood where they're smiling. You know what I'm saying? So even just that alone is like great for the community, let alone like everything else, bro. So I just want to thank you for having me on. Shouts out to everyone, my friends, my family, everyone who's ever fucked with me, supported me. Shouts out to the mommies, the cult, love y'all. And shouts out to you, bro, because this podcast is it's I hope it continues to grow. I know it's going to continue to grow. I hope you stay consistent with it. I mean, I know you are, you know, you're doing the damn thing. And like I said, it's just doing a lot of stuff for the culture, bro, for the community. And I just want to give you your flowers for that, bro, because, you know, you deserve that shit. And this wouldn't be possible without you, man. A lot of this, you know what I mean? So let's set something up, you know, soon, bro. Whenever you got something going on, you got something in the works, some Robo Blitz or whatever the fuck, let me know. I will do whatever I can to help it pop off.
Period. Let's get it, boy. Like, thank you for all that. Thank you for those words and everything. Yeah, like I just want to wrap it up with the same words that I told you in that drawing. Like, we're just getting started, you know. Salud.
Salud.
We're just getting started. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. That was an amazing conversation. Y'all stay tuned on our page, on ZombieKing's page. We're gonna share what they have going on. Yeah, so let's keep the conversation going. Gonna stay tuned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again. This has been an amazing episode. We'll talk to y'all real soon. Peace.
Later, y'all.